Hello, it's Daily Wisdom from Proverbs. We're in chapter 14 today, so let's get right into it. Verse 1, the wisest of women builds her house, but folly with her own hands tears it down. Catch that? You have a choice. Through wisdom, you can build your house, or through folly, you can tear it down. Solomon says, your choice. Verse 2, whoever walks in uprightness fears the Lord, but he who is devious in his ways despises the Lord. By the mouth of a fool comes a rod for his back, but the lips of the wise will preserve them. Verse 4, where there are no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come by the strength of the ox. What on earth does that mean? Well, here's what it means. If you say, boy, all these ox that we have are just a mess. You know, they're making a mess, and you have to feed them, and they're dirty, and it's just not worth the effort. Well, true. If you have oxen, it's a messy thing, and your manger, your stable, will be clean if you don't have any ox. But what you lose is you lose the strength that comes from having ox. What Solomon's saying here, what wisdom is saying here, is that sometimes things are worth the mess. Having a good marriage is messy, but it's worth the mess. Having a family and children who love the Lord, where they're raised in a godly home with wise principles, it gets messy, but it's worth the mess. Churches can be messy places, but it's worth the mess. And sometimes we, just like this person in Proverbs, we could say, well, forget it. I'm just going to not have ox. That's fine. You'll have a clean stable, but you won't get the abundant crops that come through the strength of an ox. And sometimes we walk away and we turn our back on other messy things in our lives that are very important. And what this proverb is saying is, it may be effort, but it's worth the effort. Verse 5, a faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness breathes out lies. Verse 6, a scoffer, remember the scoffer? A scoffer seeks wisdom in vain, but knowledge is easy for a man of understanding. Leave the presence of a fool, for there you do not meet words of knowledge. Watch out who you hang out with, is what that verse is saying. Verse 8, the wisdom of the prudent is to discern his way, but the folly of fools is deceiving. Did you catch that? The wisdom of the prudent is to discern his way. That means we think about our ways. We think about the way we're heading. We don't just rush into things. We're prayerful about things. We seek advice about things. The wisdom of the prudent is to discern his way. Verse 9, fools mock at the guilt offering, but the upright enjoy acceptance. The heart knows its own bitterness, and no stranger shares its joy. Isn't that true? Verse 11, the house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the upright will flourish. Verse 12, here's a great proverb. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death. That's like a verse we looked at a couple days ago. There's things that seem right to a fool. A fool seems right in his own eyes, but foolishness in the end leads to death. Verse 13, even in laughter the heart may ache, and the end of joy may be grief. 14, the backslider in heart will be filled with the fruit of his ways, and a good man will be filled with the fruit of his ways. The simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thoughts to his steps. That echoes something we read in chapter 13, verse 8. Verse 16 says, one who is wise is cautious and turns away from evil, but a fool is reckless and careless. A man of quick temper, how does he act? He acts foolishly. and a man of evil devices is hated. The simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. Verse 19, the evil bow down before the good, the wicked at the gates of the righteous. The poor is disliked even by his neighbor, but the rich has many friends. Verse 21, whoever despises his neighbor is a sinner, but blessed is he who is generous to the poor. Do they not go astray who devise evil? Those who devise good, on the other hand, meet steadfast love and faithfulness. Verse 23, another great verse that extols the virtue of hard work and industriousness. In all toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty. Verse 24, the crown of the wise is their wealth, but the folly of fools brings folly. Verse 25, a truthful witness saves lives, but one who breathes out lies is deceitful. I like how Solomon keeps using this figure of speech, breathes out lies, not just speaks lies, but it's as if this is just when you're a fool, when you're unwise, you just breathe out lies. It just comes out of you naturally and should not be that way. Verse 26, in the fear of the Lord, one has strong confidence, and his children will have a refuge. Verse 27 says, the fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, that one may turn away from the snares of death. In a multitude of people is the glory of a king, but without people a prince is ruined. Whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly. May that be words of wisdom that we live by today. Verse 30, a tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy makes the bones rot. 31, whoever opposes a poor man insults his maker. Interesting. That's God. Whoever opposes a poor man insults God. But he who is generous to the needy honors him. The wicked is overthrown through his evil doing, but the righteous finds refuge in his death. Wisdom rests in the heart of a man of understanding, but it makes itself known even in the midst of fools. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people, whether you live in the United States of America or Israel or you name it, whatever country you want to name. Sin is a reproach to any people. And lastly, verse 35, a servant who deals wisely has the king's favor, but his wrath falls on one who acts shamefully. So much to chew on in this chapter 14 of Proverbs. And I'm so glad you joined us today for Daily Wisdom.